Hey guys, it's Phil coming back at you with another video. Today, I'm back. I'm excited. I'm pumped up. And for those that do not know, I was a little gone for a little bit while because my roommate tested positive for COVID and we had to take all those precautions and do all those different things to make sure everybody was safe. So for those that have been repping and rocking with me in the meantime, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you guys because I tried to not let it slow down anything. So I was still keeping up with the study groups, the one-day course, and individual tutoring. And like I said, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single part of you guys being a part of the Fill in the Gaps community, sharing my name, spreading the word, passing, getting the job done. And from the bottom of my heart, words cannot express how much appreciation I have for you guys and how much this made me realize like how fragile things are and that any glimpse of things can change everything. So all the positivity you guys breed and bring, because whether you guys know it or not, some of your guys' email just motivates me, pumps me up, gets the job done. And another thing that motivates me, gets the job done, are the 52 people that passed since the last time I uploaded a video, just a little bit under 3 weeks ago. So that's amazing to me. And I'm excited because a lot of people on this list didn't think that they could do it, or they had self-doubt, or had other programs and situations telling them to reschedule. You're not going to be able to do this. You're not going to be able to get on the other side. And they walked in the exam comfortable, confident, built themselves up, kicked the exam in the chest, got their job done. They're living their best life. They're doing everything that they wanted to do. And they are as follows: Erica S., Nikki S., Kristen R., Rebecca S., Raym M., Brianne H., Amanda A., Nicole L., Laura G., Laura A., Renee J., Emily C., Dom P., Candace M., Rachel M., Erica P., Flower C., Jamie W., Anika S., Sophie J., Sarah S., Claudia, Tiara P., Lydia D., Sharita A., Christy D., Louise E., Maggie B., Thomas T., Nicolette V., Juliet G., Arlise C., Ashley C., Charlotte M., Bob B., April M., Tori D., Alexa H., Alex S., Esther M., Ashley R., Jen L., Larry P., Rachel S., Janice J., Eric C., Luann H., Gabrielle S., Lakeisha L., Deborah B., Viola A., and Brendan E. And like I said, I'm so blown away and amazed by everybody and all the support that you guys show me from the bottom of my heart. I was missing you guys, and I'm going to get back to regularly uploading everything. And if you're wondering like, hey, how can I rep and rock with you? How can I get into the study groups? How can I do the one-day course? What does all that look like? Let me update you guys on the Sunday study groups that are coming up. And these are paid study groups. And if you want any of the information for these, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com or click the link in the description. And for those that are like, what is the description? It is the view more under the title of this video, and it'll allow for you to click the schedule, pay for it, get the registered for that, and benefit from that. But the next ones that are coming up are as follows: 11.8 acronym and practice questions. So this is where we are going to break down each level of the acronym, understand what they mean, apply to different practice questions to get a little bit more understanding of what that looks like. Because I know a lot of times people are like, what does that even mean? Or what is this differentiating this level from that level, and what does it look like? And I'm going to break that down for you guys. 11.15 is practice questions. So surely going over practice questions. So being able to understand, how do we break them down? What does the process look with the acronym? What does it look like without the acronym? 11.22, client interventions. 11.29, research, program development, and program evaluation. 12.6, Freudian theory. So going over the different Freudian aspects as well as the defense mechanisms. 12.13, community interventions. 12.20, practice questions again. 12.27, DSM-5 children. And then the first one of the year, January 3rd, 1-3, DSM-5 adults. And again, if you want any information for those, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com or click the link in the description, and then you can register for the study groups that way, as well as I do still offer individual tutoring. My schedule tends to book out 5 to 6 weeks in advance, so be mindful of that. And I feel bad for turning people away, but it's just kind of what it is. I haven't found out how to clone myself, and I still work a full-time job on top of helping and doing all of this stuff. So like I said, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you guys. If you want to inquire about individual tutoring or to sign up for it, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com or click the link in the description. That'll pop up my individual tutoring calendar. And what you see on the calendar is what is available. However, if it isn't available before your exam, you can send me an email, and then I can put you on the tutoring waiting list as well. And for those that are wondering, yes, I am going to do another one-day course. It's not going to be in November, though, because Thanksgiving kind of stole the Saturday from us. So it's going to be the first week of December, the first absolute Saturday that I could get, as close as November as I possibly can. So the next one-day course is going to be on 12/5. And I know a previous video I said it was going to be 11/24. That was a typo. I was like, no, it was actually on 10/24, not 11/24. And the next one again is going to be on 12/5, and it's going to be all day again. So 11 a.m. Eastern time to 7 p.m. Eastern time. Likely going to be 8 or 9 p.m. I always say 7 o'clock because I worry about the timing, but we always go after because we go over all the content. And then we do practice questions, and then we have a question and answer segment. And for those of you that are like, what happens during the one-day course? What can you cover in that amount of time? Well, the topics that I cover are the tips I find most helpful for people to pass. What are things that people need to change or shift in their minds? Or what are some Achilles heels from stopping them from being able to pass the exam? As well as common reasons why people fail the exam, which are similar to the tips that I find most helpful, because the tips I find most helpful build on to those, as well as breaking down a handful of topics. Some of those are subpoena versus court order, the medications, community interventions, and well as breaking down the acronym and the 5-step process that I recommend people utilize to break down the questions and subsequently get to the answer, as well as reviewing 25 practice questions. And if your exam is after or prior to the one-day course, you can get a previous copy of the one-day course because I record all of my Sunday study groups as well as the one-day course. So if you want a previously recorded one, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com, and that's totally possible. However, if you're like, I'd prefer the live version, Phil, you can send me an email for the information or click the link in the description. It'll allow for you to sign up on the calendar and then be added to that. And if you're not able to attend live, do not sweat it, because as stated before, it will be recorded. And if you sign up for the live session, you will be sent the recording afterward. Or if you're going to attend live, you'd also get access to the recording. It's just a way to help as many people as we possibly can. And the one-day course is out of this world based on the fact that I didn't know that it would have as big of an impact as it would, because it's the most comprehensive thing that I can offer with in a certain amount of time, and you get to review it, and allows for you to tear up 25 practice questions that you have not seen before. As well as for those that do not know, Audible has agreed to sponsor both my YouTube videos and my podcast. So if you want to support me as well as support them, go to my Audible affiliate link at audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps. Sign up for the 30-day free trial. If you do not sign up for the 30-day free trial, it does not help me in any way, shape, or form. And it's the easiest way to support me, and it costs you nothing. And for those that do not know what Audible is, it's an easy way to get knowledge on the go because it allows for you to listen to audiobooks. So if you're busy just like me and you can't really stay still, or if you're like trying to do a ton of things all the time and you've run out of podcasts, Audible is an easy way to get particular books that can help you advance yourself in some way, shape, or form. I definitely utilize audio stuff to allow for myself to be able to still gain knowledge with all the busy stuff that I have going on. So again, if you want to support me as well as support them, go to my Audible affiliate link at audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps. Sign up for the 30-day free trial, and it really helps me out. And if you're like, Phil, what book should I get with a 30-day free trial? There are a couple of books that I would recommend that have helped me build myself up, that allow for me to empower you guys as well. And they are as follows: Outliers, Shoe Dog, The Alchemist, and The Body Keeps the Score, and each of them have different lessons that can help benefit you in some way, shape, or form, whether that's personally, professionally, or both mixed together. And again, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single person that has repped and rocked with my Audible affiliate link. The Fill in the Gaps community always amazes me and of how big it is and how supportive and getting the job done. And something that's been on my head that I want to get to before I let you guys go and see the rest of the video is know yourself and do not overwhelm yourself, especially now. We have so much stuff going on in our lives that we're always questioning, do I need this? Do I need that? Do I need that? Do I need that? Do I need that? Do I need this? And it's all based on different things that people have told us, or maybe deficits in our minds that we're creating or telling ourselves like, man, I need this. Or people are just doubting themselves, so they just invest and get out their checkbook, write another check, and do everything that they feel is right for their situation based on the influence of another person. And I always ask somebody, is that actually going to be helpful for you? Or is that something that you feel that you need based on something that you may not entirely need? And that's a different situation, because if it would make you feel better and build your confidence up, that's a different story than if somebody convinces you that you need something based on something that isn't entirely in reality. So that's where I always tell people, safeguard yourself and remind yourself that you have everything that you need to walk into that exam and get the job done. Way too many times people come to me and say, well, this program told me this, and that program told me this, or this person told me that I needed to do this, or this person told me I needed to do that, or I need to order them 1 through 4, or I need to do this, or I need to do jumping jacks, I need to drink honey, or maybe I need to study more, maybe I need to study less. All of these different things have to be honed in based on who you particularly are in that moment. And that is what gets me bothered, is a lot of times people try to generalize or template themselves, or get shoved in a template, or even shove a question on the exam in a template based on what they heard, and not meeting themselves where they're at, or not meeting the question where it's at. And that's where you got to slow down, take it easy, make sure that you're doing things for yourself, and making sure your preparation actually represents who you are, not what somebody has told you, not what somebody told you could be helpful for you, but sitting yourself down and reflecting, what do I particularly need in this situation to get me closer to where I want to go? And a lot of the times, this comes after somebody has failed the exam, and failing the exam is a very, very difficult situation, especially if it's not your first time failing it, and you have that idea of where you want it to be, and you're not there, and it frustrates you, and it ticks you off, and it like tears you apart. My biggest challenge for those people, and that may not be everybody, people may be like, man, I haven't taken the exam yet, Phil, this is going to be lost on me. I'm trying to rep and rock with the people that have failed multiple times, so that way we can get you to the level that you need to be. So this is for you guys, of just sitting yourself down and remembering the excitement that you had for that first attempt. And you had that excitement based on the fact that you didn't know what to expect. You didn't have any expectations on yourself. You didn't have a loss to mourn yet. You were like, I see this being 100% possible for me. And you lost that excitement along the way, and losing that excitement is slowly telling yourself, I do not have what I need to get the job done, and somebody else has to drag me to that finish line now. And to those people, keep reflecting, keep driving, and keep striving, because you have everything that you need to walk into that exam. And you may need to add an additional strategy, but you do not need to add an additional program or entire thought process, especially since you likely got a question right on the exam. And let me say that again. You likely got a question right on the exam. And of course, people are going to be like, yeah, of course I did. I didn't get 0 right. Well, that's the perspective you need to have, is you have strategies and techniques that led you to getting correct answers. You just have to polish it up in a way that makes sense to you, and refocus and re-excite yourself into that exam. Because if you remember the excitement that you once had in the exam room that first time, you are going to view it in a different way and be more pumped up and be more excited and build yourself up. So rather than looking at your situation and being like, man, why didn't this happen for me, man? I did everything that I needed to do. I invested X amount of money into this, or I wanted to do all of these things, and I have all this stuff laid out in front of me. And it's like, I can understand that you're frustrated and ticked off, and you wanted to be somewhere, but now sit in this situation, get the lessons and opportunities and situations from it, feel what you gotta feel, and utilize that to propel you further, and convince yourself, this is my first time touching this exam. And you're like, well, this isn't. Well, you have to convince yourself sometimes of situations, because every situation that you're in is not going to be excited and be a situation that you're pumped up, excited about, and all these things based on the fact that your excitement often dwindles once you get past the excitement of that initial contact. As humans, we are naturally wired to get excited for when we first get an opportunity or first get into a situation or first get exposed to something. But over time, we get used to it, so our excitement goes down and we're like, it's just this or it's just that. But you need to get back and get that perspective of what it once felt like to even have the opportunity. If you're scheduled for the exam right now, you're blessed, because I have people that have been waiting for months and months and months and months to even take this thing. So walk in the gift that you've been given and allow for the blessings to flow through you, rather than you repel it off and be like, nah, I don't really think I need to focus on that, or man, I'm not that excited for this opportunity, because there are people dying to be where you're actually at right now based on the fact that you've gotten so huge in the situation that you're not really focused on the things that you need to do. You are not going to be excited 100% of your days, but you need to make 100% of your days excited towards your goal and get yourself pumped up and say, man, I might not be where I'm at right now, but I can put what I need to get put in today to lead me closer to where I'm at. So when you have your up and high days and you're excited and pumped up and exploding towards where you need to go, your down days are going to average out to you still feeling comfortable and confident within your situation. And if you're like, well, I don't have a lot of time, or I have a lot of situations going on, or a lot of this, Phil, you don't know what it feels like to do all of this. You don't know all of this stuff, and you're absolutely right. I'm not preparing for the exam right now, but I guarantee that I have a lot of stuff on my plate right now that is just blowing my mind and stressing the heck out of me and dragging me down and doing all of these things. And I am a human with a heartbeat and all of these things that are telling me like, man, I don't even know if you can maintain this, or you're not helping enough people, or you're not doing this. So that's what I said at the beginning of the video. You don't realize how much positivity I breed from you guys based on the fact that you guys are like, yo, you helped me, man. I didn't believe in myself before. Man, I wasn't even sure if this was going to be possible for me. Yo, I'm 70 plus years old and did this. Yo, this is going to help my kids out. Yo, this is what this is going to be like. So that's what I mean, is you got to get that excitement of what it felt like back in the beginning, because you had a reason and purpose behind what you did at that beginning. You're like, man, this is going to breed all of these things. Man, this is going to do all of these things. And for those that know about me, man, my story just it's not the easiest, but there's a lot of reason behind what I do. And it's based on the fact that I want to propel everyone else further in their situation. And I have a lot of situations that I was put through that I didn't think that I can get through. So that's where I'm trying to drive you guys closer to getting to where you need to go, based on the fact that I know what it feels like to not feel like you're doing something right. But that's where you got to give yourself credit in what you're doing to push yourself further, because there are people that are not wanting you to succeed, but there's enough people in your situation that you may think that they're going to judge you or degrade you or bring you down when you're not doing what you need to be doing. But at the end of the day, you need to look at yourself in the face and say, I'm doing everything that I can. This exam doesn't mean everything. It means a lot to my career, but it means nothing to my identity. No one at my job is viewing me differently. I'm viewing myself differently, and I need to view these questions differently, so that way it can make my situation different in the future. But you have to breed that positivity from when you're in yourself. Not every day is going to be a positive day. Not every situation is going to be a positive one, but you need to make it positive based on who you are and what you're contributing and what you're dragging in, and surrounding yourself with the right people. So that's where you have everything that you need to get the job done. You just have to evoke that out of yourself and drag yourself into the situation and build your situation into a more reinforced situation to increase the likelihood that you would pass. And if this was a friend, you'd be willing to invest in their situation and build them up, and you'd have a treatment plan for them, and you'd stoke them up and get the job done. But when it comes to you, you're like, man, I've already put in my shots. I've helped a ton of people pass the exam. I've been doing all of these things. And it's like, but when it comes to you, you're hard on yourself. You feel like you should already be somewhere that you're not, and you need to slow your situation down, because if you keep dragging yourself down and beating yourself up based on not where you're not at, rather than embracing where you are not going to get to the goals that you want to, regardless if you pass this exam or not. You're building your foundation on sand, and once that affirmation and once that situation goes south to where you don't want it to go, you're then going to turn yourself into a situation where it's not going to be as positive as it could have been if you were building yourself up and getting the job done. So that's been something that was heavy on my heart. I wanted to get that out there for a lot of people because a lot of people are going through a lot of things. And I know a lot of times all you hear about this exam is, man, I didn't pass, or I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or man, did you hear about this program, or did you hear about that? Why aren't you doing this, or why aren't you doing that? But you need to be doing what you need to be doing, and do not be afraid to look yourself in the face and say, I'm going to be different than everybody that's ever been in my situation based on the fact that I've worked too hard, I've sacrificed too hard, I've done too many things to get into the right direction, to be dragged into a negative situation where I do not feel like I belong. Because if you do not feel like you belong in a situation, you belong more so based on the fact that you were invited to sit at the table. So do not be questioning whether you deserve to be at that table. Be questioning how long it is going to take you to feel like you belong at that table, and how long it's going to take for you to bring other people to that table based on the fact that you have a gift and talents that you don't even know that you have. You just have to keep embracing what you have, keep building yourself up, keep taking care of yourself, keep pushing away that negativity, get yourself around positive people, positive things, positive thoughts, because more positive vibes, positive thoughts equal positive results. Negative vibes, negative thoughts equal negative results. Do not get yourself into that tailspin. Keep building yourself up. And like I said, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single person that's repping and rocking with me. Do me a favor. Give this a thumbs up if you got to this far in the video. It means a lot to me, and it allows for other people to find us, as well as comment something down positive down below, or like, man, I got this far, or you can do this, because somebody needs to read that, because people read the comments more than you think, and we need it to be positive. We need to breathe that positivity, as well as make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. And for those that don't know, just click down below, hit subscribe, hit that bell notification, because if you've made it this far in the video, I wanted to have this for only my loyal followers. I'm going to be doing a free question and answer study group on next Saturday, the 14th. I haven't decided the time, but I'm going to be giving information for that. And if you send me an email, I'll give you the link to sign up early, so that way you can secure your spot. And like I said, from the bottom of my heart, I'm also going to be uploading a video for the actual instructions on how to sign up, and the link for that as well. So make sure you subscribe, click that bell notification to make sure that you're updated and keep everything up, as well as the study group that you're about to watch are me bringing people back that have passed the exam, describing their situation, what it was like to shift their motivation and perspective from, man, I'm not really sure if I can do this, to, yo, I'm going to walk in the exam, choke it out, kick it its chest, slice its neck, get the job done, because it's destroyed me enough. I'm about to destroy it more. And like I said, from the bottom of my heart, take care of your guys' self. I appreciate every single one of you. Make sure you're doing self-care, looking out for other people, and we can get better together. I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace out, guys. Hey, Phil, I can share my experience. I passed last week.
Hello.
How is it going?
Hey, hi Phil. Hey everyone.
So tell them a little bit about your experience and how it was like working with me, and where you started and what was it like to pass.
Sure. So working with Phil, well, first I should actually tell everyone, because I'm just going through the chats. I am from New York. So I'm not sure if the tests are all the same, but that's just like a heads up for everyone. I took my test 2 weeks ago. I had started studying for it. Let's see, I took it May 2nd. I started studying the end of February. So end of March, end of April. I would say that I studied for 2 months. I studied for about 3 hours a day. My work schedule kind of permits me, I work 4 to 12 at night. So I would wake up, do some studying, and then go on with my day. So if that helps people with a schedule, that was great. I did practice questions every day. I had ordered the ASWB book, so I did practice questions. And at work, I had just been like stumbling upon YouTube, and I found Phil's channel. I very much highly recommend to everyone, if you just kind of discovered Phil now, go to like all of his videos. In the beginning, he has some recorded videos where he goes through some questions, he breaks down the acronym, and he can help explain how things go. I would say if people asked like what type of advice I could give, I would say first, I wouldn't get too, I took the clinical exam. I wouldn't get too caught up on theory necessarily. you need to know the basics of it. But a lot of the questions, and I did at least 300 to 500 practice questions. I did like a ton. Most questions I could find, you needed to know, like basically what would you do types of questions. So Phil's acronym, especially for my test, it was very heavy in like application questions and things like that. That was helpful. The other thing, I also purchased the practice question on the practice test on the ASWB website because I wanted to get a feel for the computer program. I remember taking for my L, it was so long ago. So that was helpful. Get very comfortable with like the skip feature because for me, my test anxiety at first was pretty crazy. And I gotta say that Phil really helps you stay focused on knowing yourself and like just kind of relaxing and just being able to access the information. As long as you're studying, it's in your head. You know, you'll be surprised how much you already know. So Phil, you did a great job at just really helping me get comfortable with the fact that I already know it because I had been studying so much. And if you just watch his videos, he like repetitiously instills that in you, which I think was really great and unique in terms of studying. So use the skip feature and the test. If you don't know it, don't freak out. Don't spend longer than a couple seconds looking over it. If it doesn't come to you at first glance, skip it. You will definitely have more than enough time. You can easily circle back. And then at that point, hopefully your test anxiety would have decreased and you would have been more comfortable to access the information. So Phil, again, I just want to say thank you so much for really helping us realize our own strengths in it, just because that's not something that I really think I've come across in other avenues and means of studying. So I would say that's one of the most important things for me, at least.
Awesome. And it's my pleasure to be able to help and walk through the process. What is it like to test during COVID? You know, because a lot of us are wondering, like, what does it even look like? Do I need to do anything in particular? So what was it like during doing that process? And what was it like for you? Did it even affect you that you took it during COVID?
So it was really cool. I personally thought it was awesome for a number of reasons. Of course, it depends on how you feel about coronavirus. I work in a jail, so I've been around it since the beginning, and I really just second nature just to feel safe and be around other people. Also, not for nothing, the lockdown was really helpful in focusing on studying. I remember studying being like, thank God I can't go anywhere or do anything. But it was really cool. It was the first time since coronavirus. I go into the city pretty frequently. So since coronavirus happened, it was the first time I went into the city. It was really cool. It was empty. No one was really there. It made me feel really comfortable and relaxed. I kind of just kept telling myself, like, I had a unique experience being able to get to the testing center. Oh, that's another tip. Side note, go to your testing center before your actual test. Because between the anxiety, maybe getting lost or confused. For example, I tested in New York City. The first time I was there, I had went to the wrong building. So I don't know if I'm already anxious, like if I also was lost, I don't know, it would have been like a lot harder for me. So just go to your test site beforehand, get comfortable with the testing center, get comfortable with the procedures. I had called beforehand and I asked what items were allowed in with me. So for example, I was allowed my chapstick, which is key for me. I was allowed, my people, not that it mattered, but like, I mean, they let you bring in like gum if you want to chew gum, if that helps you. I guess if you have like, I don't know, like insulin dependent and stuff like that, if you needed to bring any medications in, my people let us do that. I was okay. I didn't have to, but they can let you bring that in. I brought my inhaler because I have asthma, but I had to keep water outside of the testing center. I wasn't allowed to bring that in. Oh, I was allowed to bring tissues in, like if I needed to blow my nose. So it's like basic comforts. I think it's important, whatever your testing center lets you do, just to get more relaxed, to call beforehand and just see what their policies are. But it was cool because in the actual testing site, they only let like 4 or 5 people in. And it was me and one other person. So I really enjoyed that. I felt like I was just there for my test and there was no distractions, nothing else I had to worry about. And I thought it was kind of cool. It was really unique, I gotta say. It was kind of cool.
And did you have to wear a mask during the exam?
No, I mean, it's all over the place. It's like all the signs are up. The people are like, put your mask on. But I mean, I personally have a hard time like breathing in them. So I wore like a bandana, like a covering, and like I could just kind of move it down. When you're in front of your screen, no one says anything to you. So I would say that because, like I said, I work in a jail, so I am very lucky to have access to different types of face coverings. If you have that opportunity, just take advantage to know what you need, because you need to be comfortable for 4 hours in one sitting. For people that have not tested before, or like me, I hadn't tested since my L. I think that knowing what you need to feel comfortable for a continuous 4 hour time frame, and that's even just like timing your bathroom breaks. Maybe you need to stand up and like stretch and stuff. The mask covering, I would say, just pay attention to how you, like a lot of people like the N95s. I cannot breathe in those. I wasn't gonna wear that for 4 hours. Absolutely not. So I would say like whatever you feel comfortable in, but just ask the test center, because from my understanding, they're all pretty unique in that sense. And don't freak out if they canceled your test. I was supposed to test the 23rd of April, and I was so distressed because they had sent me the email that they canceled it. I mean, it depends on the type of person you are, but I didn't want to take no for an answer. So every day for at least 2 hours a day I gave myself 1 week. I would just go back to the Pearson VUE website, and I would log in pretty frequently. Like I might talk about like maybe once an hour, like twice an hour. And I needed a test date. I was not going to let all the study material and all this disciplined time go to waste. And I found a test, I don't know, 2-3 days after, what was it, 7 days after, something like that, April 23rd or 27th, sorry, to May 2nd. So you got to just go back and forth. People cancel all the time. Seriously.
So if you could give one more piece of advice to somebody in picturing yourself back when you were preparing and you maybe felt unmotivated, what got you back motivated?
Let me think about that. I think what got me back motivated, especially like I'm really hard on myself. So if I got a question wrong, it's like a downward slide into like you'll never do it. So what got me motivated was really just the fact that I really had been really looking forward to taking this test. Um, and just remembering that honestly, like you're really your own worst enemy, honestly. Um, just remembering that once you do it, it feels so good. You're finally done. I mean, after that, you can get your R, but from what my coworkers tell me, it's just like you fill out an application and like some people sign some paper. It's like not a thing. Last, honestly, professional test you'll ever have to take, if that's as far as you want to go. And for me, it's like the feeling of like just going through the finish line, like you're done after that. So it's just like the last push. Unless of course you had other career goals, but if it's like as far as you want to go, just remembering that you can do it. You absolutely can. And again, Phil does an amazing job at like really helping you realize your own strengths and potentials, getting comfortable enough to breathe through your anxiety, and just recognizing that you know these answers. It's not like they're not asking you random questions about like technology and politics. Like it's social work. It's what we do for a living. So we can do it. You absolutely can do it. I promise you. You've done it a million times. It's just being in your own head. I would say that's probably it. That's the motivation. Just remembering it's just you at the end of the day against yourself. That's it.
And again, thank you so much for coming back and sharing your experience. It means the world to me.
Absolutely. Phil's fantastic. Oh, side note, another tip. Phil, I had contacted you about like two of my least, what's the word? Two of my subjects I really wasn't the best at. I had got his study guides. They were recorded sessions with the pre-made study guide. It's fantastic only because the topics I had, Phil hadn't had a study session going. They're fantastic and worth every penny, truly. Honestly, they're very well organized. I'm a very big into organization. They're very well organized. They are very contextually relevant in terms of how to understand and apply the information. They are worth it. So I would also recommend that if you feel like for me, the what was it, community organizing, it just wasn't clicking. I was like, what? So I mean, it was great. I purchased it and it was very helpful, honestly.
Thank you so much for the support. And if you need anything, just let me know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Phil.
I passed last Thursday.
Can you hear me?
How is it going?
Hey, what's happening, Phil? How you doing?
Doing well, man. Go Blue.
Go Blue. Yeah, I took the test here in Michigan last Thursday. The clinical exam. Got there about 40 minutes before the place opened up. Just sat in the parking lot to gather my thoughts and mentally prepare. I had to work that. I planned on working a half a day that day. So I would advise people to dress comfortably because I work in a hospital, so I had on scrubs. So I was really comfortable when I went in. You do need to wear a mask when you go in to test, but you don't have to have a mask. I didn't have to have a mask on when I was actually taking my exam. I actually took it off, and it was only like 5 people in the room. It was only like 5 people in the room with me taking the exam. So that was pretty cool. I didn't have to use the noise canceling headphones. It was just really quiet in there, allowing me to think. And as far as preparation, I used a lot of different stuff. Working with Phil in the study groups really helped me as far as my approach to the questions, and they came in really helpful to be able to read the questions and mentally understand. All right, what is my role in this question? Am I and paying attention? Is this outpatient? Is this private practice? Is this school? Is this school social work? Because the order and how you handle these different situations where you work can be different. And so Phil really did a great job in breaking those down for me. And that was something that I was having trouble with. But the biggest thing and the biggest piece of advice I would give to people is just to have the confidence. I was reading in a lot of the texts. I know some people said they didn't pass the first time and they was close. To just put that in the past and just really go in with high confidence. I went in with high confidence, knowing that this is going to be the first and only time I take this test. I didn't let the test be bigger than me or let the test bully me. I knew I was going to answer enough questions right for it to be my one and only time to take the test. Actually, 2 or 3 days prior to the test, I couldn't even study. I couldn't even retain any more information. I was just done, and I was just laser focused and ready. If you're using different, one thing that helped me too was just rationale. I was using, I think, like Pocket Pro or something like that, and I would always score really high in like the high 80% in the ethics, but the other 3 components I was in the 60%. Which would say I wasn't ready to pass, but I knew that I was ready, and I scheduled my test and I went on with it. Didn't worry about what the app was telling me or whatever. Just went in totally confident and knocked it out the park. I think I needed 102 to pass, and I got 110.
And I think that's an important thing that you brought up is even though you're getting external feedback from something that is not yourself, you still believed in yourself and was like, that's not defining my destiny. And I know who I am and what I'm capable of, and I'm going to continue on with my goal.
That's correct. Didn't let nothing discourage. You got to have, if you go in defeated and like, I hope I pass, and that's not the right attitude to say that you hope. You prepare well. You got to go in with confidence.
And walk us through your prep. And I know you said you used a lot of things, and I know you rocked with me on the study groups, but what was it like from when you first started studying to you actually completing your goal of passing?
When I'm a big reader, and so I was reading a lot. I got the Haskell book like everybody else was talking about, and so I don't know, it just wasn't sticking. Like just the information I was reading, and then when I take these like practice tests, I get it wrong, and then get the rationale of the right answer, and then just kind of compare it to like what was I thinking when I answered it, and what's versus what was right. And so that's kind of where it didn't really start to click until I just start to look at stuff visually. Like I was talking to somebody today about Freud and that psychosexual development stages or whatever. It's like I couldn't remember it for nothing until I actually just had to look at it written down in order. So then it started to stick. It kind of started to stick for me then.
So if you could give one piece of advice for somebody that's maybe struggling or not sure if they can do it, how did you keep yourself focused and believe in yourself, even though external things were telling you that you were maybe not ready?
One's wanting to get this past me. It's kind of, I guess, for social workers, this can be, it can feel like an albatross around your neck and a huge barrier. And my desire to get that weight off of me was bigger than my fear of failing. Just wanting to pass and get it past me was bigger than my fear of failing. And I just always thought about it in those terms of when I was, unmotivated, or I'm not sure if they're gonna have the test because of COVID. Maybe it'll be good if they prolonged it. When I started those kind of thoughts, it would just go right back to no. I need to take this test on the date that they give it to me and get this over with and get it past me. And I'm so glad that I did.
And it's amazing, especially for a fellow Michigander.
Yes,
And I know there's some people that are new to me and they're like, man, what does he do? Or like, walk me through, like, what was most helpful about the study groups for you? And if someone's like, man, I'm not sure if I want to get into a study groups, what would you tell them?
The test questions surprisingly mimic the actual test. It's like I said, I did several different study things, tools that I use, and the examples that you gave were pretty close to the stems that were on the actual test. And then how you actually break them down with the colors. After you go through the stem, you start over again and color it to break the question down. So that's the biggest thing that you're gonna need to do when you're actually sitting in the test, is to be able to sit there and break the question down about what's going on, and to not miss to not be able to miss over the clues and the key information. And so watching you break those questions down in color just really helps.
Awesome. And any other advice you want to give people?
Eat a good breakfast. Don't get hungry. And like the young lady that spoke before me said, know what you can bring. I didn't call first. I just took everything with me that I think I would want and just let them tell me no, I couldn't bring it, or yeah, you can. I just came with everything. I came with bananas, snacks, juice, and all that stuff. And they was like, no, you can't bring none of that in here. You got to put all of it in the locker. So I'm like, okay. And so I think that's kind of, that I don't think it's right that they won't let you they won't even let you access your locker during the break. 4 hours is a long time to take a test. You should be able to take a break and eat a banana or something, or drink some juice if you would like. I think as social workers, that's something that we need to start advocating for, is just better accommodations during the tests. But make sure you eat well that morning, and make sure that you dress comfortable. So just be confident. Go with confidence. Go with confidence, and believe that you're gonna pass. Don't hope. Believe in your preparation.
And again, thank you so much for coming back and sharing, because it fires me up, and I know it's helpful for other people to hear that people do get on the other side, because a lot of times we do hear about maybe negative things, but we don't hear so much about, like, we hear people pass, but we don't know the mindsets and thoughts that were going through people's head. People think that people just walk in the exam, cut it, and then it's like, yep, I was confident the whole time. And it's very difficult to not hear what went into that. So I really, really appreciate you coming back.
No problem at all, Phil.
And if you need anything, just let me know, man.
Yep.
Take care of yourself and go blue.
Go blue always.
Hi, Phil. I passed. Happy to share my experience using your methods and testing during COVID.
What's up, Phil?
Not a whole lot. How's it going? How's it going?
Going good. I'm so excited. Thanks for asking me to share my experience with everybody. Are you hearing me okay?
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And I was so excited because I was telling my girlfriend before the session, like, yo, there are so many people that are going to come back and share. And I was like, I don't often get to hear directly from the people. So it's it's
Yes.
my pleasure and from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. So walk us through the process.
Yeah. So for me, so the process, just an overview, just for everybody, like, no, I passed the first time, and no, I was not confident the whole time. I graduated in August, and I authorized to test in October. And I did not feel like I knew what I was doing at all. And I said, I don't know how long I'm going to take, but I'm going to take a while. And I'm a therapist at Community Mental Health. And my boss was like, it would really help me if you took the test, because then you can sign off on some treatment plans and I don't have to do everything myself. And that really motivated me. So that I didn't schedule to test until January. And then I got scheduled for March 20th. Except that when I scheduled for that, that was canceled because of COVID. And I was really upset. I said, oh, I finally was going to take it, and now I can't take it. And I went through this whole back and forth in my head of maybe I'm not ready, maybe it's a sign, it's not the right time. So I scheduled for May 1st. And basically the process with working with you, with watching your videos and everything, was that it was in January when I decided to test. And that's when I came across your videos about the different acronyms. And that's what I was really struggling with the breakdown of questions was S-Farafi and aspirins. And I could never get a question right because I kept battling myself and I didn't know I was doing that. So I watched your video on the acronyms and I threw aspirins in the trash. And as soon as I did that, literally in the garbage, and as soon as I did that, I started getting questions right. And then I just sat with your videos, like on the weekends for like an hour, 2 hours. And I was like, oh, that's what they want to know? Oh, okay. And as soon as that started to happen, my confidence totally shifted. So I would say that was between like March and my test date in May. So that, for me, the extra time was really helpful. And the other thing that I really had to do for myself was honor the fact that I didn't feel ready and and accept that and be like, that's okay that I'm not ready. I'm not going to push and make myself take this test and fail when I don't need to. I'm going to take the time that I feel I need to take and take it when I feel ready and go from there. That's kind of how I approached it. The methods that I used the ASWB, the book. I bought some flashcards just with information. And I was just saying to one of the girls in the chat that I do not find that pocket prep helpful at all for me. I felt like every time I got a question wrong, it was like a dig at the confidence. And I was like, oh, I thought I knew that. And as soon as I found your videos, I stopped doing that. And then just trusting myself and knowing that I know what I'm doing. And I feel like what I learned most from you was, what do they want to know when they're asking this question? What knowledge, skills, and abilities are they trying to assess that I know? You know, not like, what do I think? What do they want to know? So I really had to like reframe that in my head. And I did that with each question while I took the test itself. I did a lot of the things that Charles and Catherine did. I live in a really rural area and I had to go down to my testing site the night before because it's like 2 hours away. So I stayed at a hotel. I drove there. I found where it was. Like Charles, I sat in the parking lot, listened to some music that makes me, in a good headspace, and just like, it's all a mind game. Like, it's all like a mind trick. I feel like, the stuff you've been studying all this time, it's all a mind game. You just got to get yourself in a place where you feel that you know what you're doing, because you did all this work already. But you have to get yourself in a place where you're like, I know this, and then you will pass. And that's basically what I did. And, it was quite a challenge test. I thought it was interesting testing during COVID too. We did not have to wear a mask. I'm in Arizona. They didn't make you, but you could. They just wanted to look at it. The thing I found most bizarre was that you were not allowed to wear a scrunchie in your hair. They made you take it out. And I was like, why? And he said, oh, it has to be less than a 1/4 inch thick. You can't have anything on you that's more than a 1/4 inch thick. So I put a little, like one of those little clips in their hair. And he was like, no, you can't use that either. So they gave you a little elastic hair tie. which I thought was really weird, but whatever, I get it. I get it. And the other thing is I wear glasses, and there's like a little spinning thing that they put your glasses on. And I thought it was like a sanitizing thing because they were cleaning everything like crazy. But it was to test for smart glasses. Do you know what that is? Yeah. That apparently as you're reading it, like it's telling you information in the glasses. What? So the guy said that to me, and I looked at him, I said, people don't actually do that. And he's like, oh yeah, they do. um, it was really, so I just, they were having a stressful time. I was having a stressful time. So I just tried to, make the best of it. Oh, the smart glasses that tell you the answer. Well, I guess that's why they checked my glasses. So that was interesting. It actually, I would say it also took a little bit longer. Like I wasn't the first one in there, and I was like number 10. And because of the COVID thing, the check-in process took longer. So I checked in. I was there at 7:40, but I didn't start testing until like 8:30 because all the people ahead of me had to do their hand scans and give their ID. But in the middle of all of that, they stop and wipe everything down. So it took a little bit of time. Like it wasn't just one, then the next and the next. So there's that. And yeah, like we weren't allowed to open our locker at all. There were other people testing for other things, and they were like, you have breaks, you can go to your locker. And he got to me and he's like, yeah, you can't do anything. And he said you couldn't even get your water out of your locker. So you could use the water fountain, but because it's COVID, they don't want people to use the water fountain. So if you needed a drink of water, you had to raise your hand, wait for somebody to come, escort you out. They will give you a bottle of water, take it from you, and then you could go back. I was not feeling that. And, when I sat down to take the test, I kind of just said to myself, I know, right? Nina said, that's messed up, right? I just kind of said to myself, you know what? I'm just going to sit here, and I'm not going to get water. I'm not going to go to the bathroom, unless I have to. And I'm just going to focus on what I'm doing, and I'm just going to go with that. And that's what I did. And I was done by 10:30, and I passed, and I was shocked. And I didn't know that the computer, they tell you that you're going to get a printout in the other room, and you go pick it up and you go. And I was like, oh, okay. But when I hit submit on the computer, it was like pass in your face, and I wasn't ready for that. So I think that it does that. So be prepared if you haven't taken the test, that as soon as you hit submit, it's going to tell you what the results are. So basically, that's kind of my experience overall.
So yeah, walk us through that process of like you're feeling unmotivated and you're giving yourself permission to be kind to yourself. What was that like? Like what kind of conversation did you have with yourself?
Yeah, that's a really interesting part of it. Like I said, it was from October to August until January where I felt confident. And I had to really say to myself, what would I tell a client? I would tell a client to honor a feeling. Like if they're feeling angry, that it's okay to honor that and notice it. And you don't have to rush right away to not be angry at something, and to allow it to kind of go its natural course. And that's kind of what I did was just, I said, well, I'm not confident because I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not confident because I'm probably not prepared. I haven't practiced to study. I haven't learned about the test. I haven't figured out like what the questions are like. I don't know any of that. And I was like, you know what? It's okay that I don't know that yet. I had this experience in high school with the SATs, and I didn't do well on them. But then again, I didn't try. I didn't take classes. I didn't do any of that. And I had to tell myself, this isn't that. You want this really bad. So you need to do what you need to do to feel confident. And I just made a list of like the things I just said to feel confident. I need to study. I need to find some videos. I need to get a good book. I need to, set up a good study time. And I didn't study like a crazy person. I studied since August until now, but I didn't study like a nut. I studied maybe an hour a day on a weekend and maybe not at all during the week until January. And then in January, I'd be like, you know what? It's nighttime. There's nothing on TV. I'm going to spend a half hour studying. And I just kind of did that more frequently. And I didn't sit down and study in big chunks. And I did that in graduate school and I almost lost my mind. So I didn't do that. I just like knew what worked for me and tried different things and then just did what worked for me and was like, that's what works for me. It doesn't matter what works for everyone. I need to do it how I need to do it. Cause like Charles was saying, you're at the end of the day, you're the one sitting in front of the computer and it doesn't matter what works for everybody else in that moment. In that moment, what matters is what works for you. Did you do what works for you? And did you prepare yourself the way that you need to?
And if you had to give one piece of advice to somebody that is getting ready to take their test or they're feeling unmotivated and unsure if they're going to take it, what would you say to them?
I would say, I would actually say reflect back and look at what you have accomplished already, like Charles said. You really need to honor and give credit to what you have done and how much work you have put into this. Like Charles said it all. You can't go in hoping and wondering. You really have to get in that mindset of, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. And they are asking these questions and I am going to tell them what I know. I think it's all about that headspace. The other thing I think huge motivating factor too, the time right before the test, like the day before, the night before. I studied a little bit in that time, but what really helped me was like certain music, songs, things that like kind of pump you up and get you motivated. You did a video about, staying motivated during COVID. And that for me really helped. What are you going to do with this time that we've kind of been given? And I said to myself, I'm going to come out of this with a license. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come out of this and people will say, what did you do during that time? And I'm going to be able to say, I got my LMSW and I did that. So I think like I said, I think it's that mind trick, that mind game, and all about getting in the right headspace. And everybody has their own way of doing that, and take some time away from your studying to do that, to get yourself in that headspace.
Yeah. And again, thank you so much for coming back and being willing to share your experience.
Sure. Thank you so much. Good luck, everybody. You totally got this.
And if you need anything, just get a hold of me, but take care and be safe.
All right. Thanks.
Does the exam cover research methods? So this is always a tricky question for me when people ask me, Phil, is this going to be on my exam? Is this other content area? Do I have to know everything? And to that, it all depends. It all depends on the version of the exam that you get. And a lot of times people are like, there's an X amount of version of the exam, but what I picture each exam being is just a pool of questions being pulled. So the 170 questions that you get may not be the same that you've seen. And why I think the theory of that there's only X amount of exams out there is there's people that have taken it multiple times and the questions that they've gotten are entirely unique to them. So I think it's just generated as you schedule your test and when they hit the start button on your exam. So our research methods going to be covered? They may be, or they may not be. There's a lot of times people will say mine was entirely macro based. Some people may say mine was entirely child based. Mine was hospital based, crisis based, etc. So do not get so wrapped around of, is this topic going to be on the exam? And don't stress yourself out about knowing everything. It's darn near impossible to be a computer and know every single aspect about topics of interest. So in this situation, I always tell people, don't memorize the information, be able to recognize and apply what you're studying to the actual test. So don't stress yourself out that you haven't memorized all the steps of research or all the different types of research studies or all the different things that could exist in front of you. Do not let the little things destroy the big picture of you being able to feel confident, comfortable, and being willing to build yourself up. You're not going to know everything. I don't know everything. You don't know everything. But knowing that you know yourself and how you study and that you've put in what you thought was best for this actual exam attempt, and if it does not go how you want to, knowing that is okay. It doesn't have to happen when you want it to happen. It'll happen when it's going to happen. And a lot of times as we are preparing, we are so hard on ourselves of, I don't know this topic area. I don't know what a single subject research is. I don't know what experimental research is. I don't know what quasi-experimental is. I don't even know the types of validity. I don't know what reliability is. I don't know what an N or null hypothesis is. And you don't need to know those particular things. You just need to be able to identify it when you see it. Why? Because it's not a fill in the blank exam. It is a multiple choice exam where the answer is always going to be on the page. That's the 100% guarantee, is the answer is always going to be on the page in front of you, and utilizing the question. And you may just have to throw a dart at the wall and guess, and that's okay. Giving yourself permission to get questions wrong is actually going to lead you to have a higher likelihood of passing than fixating on one question, beating yourself up for not knowing it, and then letting the rest of the exam get away from you. And that's a thing that I often see or hear about, is people are like, I had the expectation of something happening. So when you walk into the exam and it doesn't go how you want to do it, you are then going to reinforce the story or scenario or rhetoric that I was not good enough to pass, so I might as well fail now and not even give it a 100% shot. So is research going to be on your exam in particular? We have no clue, but do not fixate on the little things. Paint it with a broad stroke, because the exam is going to be a broad stroke of every possibility that you could see. And don't let that get you riled up. Don't let it keep you up and say, man, I don't know this well enough, or dude, I couldn't memorize this. And if you find yourself being in that spot of like, I don't know this particular topic area, assess and address how you've been actually studying that topic area. Because if you're reading, you may be spinning your wheels because you're not a visual learner. You may need to hear it, or you may to actually see it in chart form or be able to do something with that information. So you may be an auditory, you may be a visual, you may be a tactile. Again, don't let the information beat you up. Assess and address and look at what you're trying to see when you're studying. And something that I've been reflecting on quite a bit is you don't know things are a problem when it's in front of you. We are so close to our own situations that we don't know that what we are doing is actually negative or hurting us or making us regress in the situation. Maybe your self-talk, maybe the self-care that you're doing or not doing, maybe what you're bringing into your situation, maybe the people you're talking to, maybe the information you're using, maybe all of these things could be dragging you further away from your goal, which is, in this context, passing your exam. So you may be even too close to your situation to even give yourself grace for what you're going through. A lot of times we are so hard on ourselves. We want to get what we want to see. We want to do what we want to do, and our timelines are totally whack. We don't give ourselves enough time. We dial ourselves in and build ourselves up and tear ourselves down, when if we sat down and said, this is my goal, what is a realistic timeline for me to accomplish this, or what do I need to see in my situation to better equip myself? And don't get so caught up. You are too close in your situation to actually analyze it. So you may need to reach out to somebody that cares about you, emphasis on that cares about you, and to give you direct feedback about your situation. Because again, the advice that people typically give us, it hurts us when it doesn't go around or reinforce what we want to hear. But the pain of not getting to your goal needs to be more intense than the pain of you actually self-assessing your situation. Because we often get too caught up in our situation that we destroy it from the inside out. Than if we would take the advice that people are giving us, it would lead us to better results. So do not let those little details destroy the big picture. So the pain of you not actually doing what you need to do needs to be greater, and may actually be less than the regret or pain you get when you do not do what you actually need to do in that situation. So you sitting yourself down and saying, what do I actually need to get myself to my goal in a realistic timeline? And I'm not a robot, so I have expectations that I've not met within myself. So I have to peel myself back, sit myself in timeout and say, what's the problem? Are you the problem in the situation? Is the way that you're doing the problem in the situation? Or is the information that you have the problem in the situation? Because there's one of the three, or maybe two of the three. And oftentimes my perception of where I think I need to be is the problem, because I have overzealous goals, and everybody does. And that doesn't mean that I fail all the time, but I fail quite a bit. But if I do not sit myself down and say, what is wrong in this situation, it will never fix itself. No one's going to come and rescue you in the situation and give you everything you need. In the context of the exam, I can help you. I can give you the skills. I can give you the talents. I can give you the techniques. I can tell you everything I did. I can bring people in and tell you what they did, but at the end of the day, you have to sit yourself down and say, what do I actually need in my situation, and what's going to be most helpful for me? Because what worked for me may not work for you, will work for them, may not work for you. But again, take what you need, throw the rest of it out, because if you take everything that people give you, you're going to be drowning in things, and then you're going to pull yourself farther away from where you need to be going. So again, sitting yourself down and saying, am I actually destroying the picture? And knowing that you're too close to your situation to give yourself that direct feedback, because very few people are willing to look at themselves and say, you let you down. There's something in this situation that let you down. It may not be your direct lack of effort, but something or a decision that you made or piece of information you brought in let the situation down. So you need to rectify it in some way. And you can't do that by doing external work. You need to do the internal work to then impact your external and make your situation what you want to see in your situation. So understanding that, don't let one piece of thing take you down. You may
Hey,
not.
Phil, but I feel like I could piggyback off of this because I passed as well, April 17th. So it was like the first week that you were even allowed to do the testing. They opened it up a little bit early because they needed, healthcare workers. But one of the things I think that is unique is that I didn't feel confident and I wasn't sure, but I allowed myself, and you said the word grace. And I think that that's super helpful to know that during this weird time, and it took me 4 years to get my master's. I'm 50, there's a million, it's been forever since I've done anything like this, all these good things I kept telling myself. And no matter what you're studying, no matter what you're using, you're doing the best you can do, and allow yourself the grace. If you don't pass it, it's not the end of the world. No one's telling you that you can't take it again, or you can't, maybe you just didn't know, all the things like you said, like how many, research questions are going to be on there and all that good stuff. But for me, what was most helpful is I was scheduled in the beginning of March, it was canceled. I was scheduled at the end of March, it was canceled. So when I first started with Phil, it was like February, and I, got the Sunday sessions, which are super affordable. I didn't have to spend like $500-600 right out of pocket. And then when it ended, when I wasn't able to test in March, early March, I emailed him and I was like, hey, I need to keep going with this. One of the things I think that Phil does that's unique to other programs, and I would never say that anybody else's programs were like no good or bad or any of those, because I think that anything you use that's going to be helpful to you, like he said, however you learn is how you learn. What for me was best with him was like the Sunday sessions. You can contribute, and then when he color codes it, as Charles said, like you can print those out and then you can study off of those. And I did that. So even walking in that day, I was like, I don't know if I should be doing this. Everything was such a mess, but everything is a mess now, and it's okay. It's okay to be a mess right now. And there's no expectation of, if I don't pass this, if this doesn't happen, that's going to happen. Right now, there's so many things that aren't happening. We kind of just have to, as you said, Phil, give ourselves grace that it'll be okay. We've worked hard. We know what we're doing. We've learned a lot. We know that we're going to be okay. And we just have to get through this part of it. I had no expectations going into that I was going to pass. When I started taking the test, I realized that a lot of the things that I was looking at were like the questions that Phil had broken down. And some of those study groups, I'll tell you, I didn't do well. I mean, there were lots of times on the Sunday, I would miss half the questions. Even the pocket prep thing, I didn't do really well. I had like 70%. And the test before, I was like, I had no expectation. And then when I started reading the questions on the test, they were very similar to what Phil had put. So I started breaking them down like he would, and kind of, two of the answers you're going to know like aren't correct, right? They're going to make no sense. And so you kind of pick between the best two. And that's kind of what I really went with is how he explained safety and all those good things. And so I think that allowing yourself grace, if I could just say one thing, it would be that, because, we tell everybody you have to do it, but then applying it to yourself is kind of a different matter. But boy, oh boy, when I hit that submit and it came back passed, I did a happy dance in the chair. I was, doing a little, was having so much. I could not, I was so excited. I just couldn't believe it. And I had to reach out to Phil, and I did right away. And I said, look, I really believe that you were so helpful. And the other great thing is, again, the cost. If you're someone on a budget, like we all are, it's not going to cost you $500-600. I kept going because I needed to keep going, because I liked the interaction that I could have with him. But you can, there's also his material on YouTube. When I would drive into town, which is about an hour away from me, I would listen to his YouTube videos. It just was, if you keep the repetition going, I think that was really helpful for me. So sorry to interrupt. I came on a little bit late, but I appreciate all you did for me, Phil.
No, don't apologize at all. And walk us through that transition, because I feel like it's a transition that doesn't often get spoke about, of like, yo, I felt like I was not even capable of doing it. And then I walked in, developed a routine that I was comfortable with, and then everything kind of fell together and you felt at home during the exam even. Walk us through that.
For sure. Even, the day before that, we had our last class with my master's group, and one of the gals had failed it, and she was someone who was younger. And again, we had like a study group going, and out of all of us, I was the weakest link, for sure. I mean, I would get things wrong that I would think would be right, because, I've been doing this for so long, you kind of get ingrained, but I haven't really tested, right? So I was nervous, because I'm like, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. I did a little bit of EMDR. I did some a little bit of tapping on my knees before I went in, and just like the others have said, it's very stressful because there's so much you can't do. I, however, didn't take anything in because I didn't really know what they would even allow. So I had like my keys, and that was it. I didn't have a phone even with me. And when I started taking the test, and because again, the night before, the gal who had failed it was like, none of the questions are like what I've learned. And, it was really hard, and I didn't have enough time. So all of those things were kind of going through my head. So when I started it, some of the questions were actually less than yours were. They were shorter. Now, again, I know everybody's test is different, but some of those questions, that you have are lengthy, and how you break them down and give us the highlighted, here's this, here's that. So for me, I was like, okay, well, that seems like I can do this one. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe the first 10, like, it's just easier, maybe this is just maybe it gets harder. But really, when I started to get, like you just said, like in your swing of things, like, oh, I've done this before. Like, this feels good to me. I can do this. And that's one of the things that is different about you than Pocket Prep and even the ASWB thing, is that the breaking down of those questions. And again, I can't stress enough, if you're able to afford even just a few of those Sunday sessions, go with the key ones that you're not sure about, like research. I mean, it has been 4 years since I've taken a research class. I had no flipping idea. I couldn't remember what any of that stuff was. So having your class really was like a refresher for me. So it was essential to have that, and then be able to print that off and study from that. And a lot of those questions, were very similar to that. And many of the questions that you break down, honestly, are a little bit harder than what I was faced with. So once I started to feel like, okay, you've got this. And I kind of gave myself too, like, broke it down into sections. Like, okay, so I'm at 60 questions, and now I'm at 120 questions. And now, I'm done. So I'm going to go back. I will say too, I did change a few answers, because many times, again, I'm 50, so I may read it quickly and think that I knew it, and then I'm like, oh no, it didn't say. Like, one of them was transference versus countertransference. I had it backwards. I hadn't read it good enough, and I'm like, oh no, that's not it, it's this. And so I allowed myself to change. I think that not really putting any rules on myself was helpful, that I was just going to go in there and just kind of see how I did. And then when I passed, I really, and I know this isn't like just all about you to blow your horn, but I really do feel like it was instrumental. And I don't know that I would have said that going into the test, how instrumental my, Sunday sessions were with you, and learning, even the ones that you had on there from YouTube, going, when I was driving back and forth, I would be listening to those. So those things really were, I felt like, instrumental, much more so, than the pocket prep or that kind of thing. But again, if that works for you, that's fine. I whatever works for anybody, I think is helpful. But I know some of those programs out there that a lot of the other people were taking in my class, were $400, $500, $600, and I couldn't see spending that kind of money. And I just, I really felt like yours was more affordable because, it was something you could go along and pay, and it made more sense because it was super interactive. So again, I appreciate that.
It's my pleasure. And again, thank you so much for coming back and sharing your experience. And if you need anything, please reach out.
Sounds good. Good luck, everybody. Thank you, Phil.
It's my pleasure.